Hello everyone, my name is Zilla, and on today's random review, we'll be taking a look at the SH.Figuarts Satoru Gojo and the SH.Figuarts Suguru Geto. And you can purchase these figures on eBay, because they're sold out everywhere else. Hey, so Editing Zilla here. So as it turns out, they're available on Big Bad Toy Store for retail price, so yeah, check them out on there. Sorry. And these two implied lovebirds come from the manga/anime series Jujutsu Kaisen, created by Gege Akutami. And these two specific designs come from the hidden inventory arc/premature death arc of the series. So without any further delays, I figured we could start with the fan favorite first. Gojo, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is or was the strongest character in this series. However, the design that this figure is depicting is a younger, less powerful, yet still very formidable Gojo. And the figure's painting and sculpt will really highlight this. While the painting on this figure is sparse, the paint that is there is fantastic. Gojo's piercing blue eyes here, also known as the 6 eyes in the anime, is what allows him to access Infinity, his main power. Now, I won't go too into details of what Infinity is because it's rather complicated. However, all you really need to know is that it basically allows him to not be touched by anybody or anything at all times. So, with the painting and sculpting out of the way, let's move on to the accessories, which there are quite a few. Gojo has 4 faceplates. We have his standard smiley, happy face, a much more ecstatic, wide-eyed happy face, 2 different laughing faces, and a shocked face. Why is he shocked? Go watch the anime and you'll find out. And I should also mention that you are able to attach a pair of included sunglasses to any of the figure's faces, and I will show you how to do that just right now. Pop off his face, and then from there what you're going to want to do is set the figure to the side and come to his head here, unplug that, and then you'll see that there's a small little indent right here that you can slide the glasses into, just like so. And after that, what you want to do is come here with the bangs, plug them in with the included pegs right here, make sure the bangs are covering the forehead, pick the figure back up, and of course just attach his face just like you normally would. And there you have it. His glasses are attached. Gojo here also comes with 11 pairs of hands, which are a pair of fists, a pair of open hands, a pair of alternate open hands. I can't really tell what these are, but they look like web crawlers to me. Another set of slightly different open hands. Another set of slightly open hands. I don't know why he comes with so many of these. A peace sign, 1 hand holding a cell phone for his left arm. And my favorite accessory, 2 hands inside of his pockets, which I think allow for some very unique But before we get ahead of ourselves here, I just want to say that the accessories it comes with are pretty cool. They allow for some really unique and dynamic looking poses, and since I said that word again, you know what time it is. He has a double ball joint at the neck and at the head, allowing him to look up this far, down that far, and of course side to side. His shoulders can extend, allowing it to be a makeshift butterfly joint, allowing his arms to go in just about that far, not quite touching his fingers, and back just about that far. Not too much. However, this extending shoulder joint does allow for some joint breakage, unfortunately. Granted, it's not much, but it is still there. And because of that extending joint right there, it can potentially get stuck while you're trying to rotate the shoulder 360 degrees, which is not impossible, but it does make it a little bit more difficult. With that being said though, his arm is on a ball joint, which of course can rotate, double hinge at his elbow, and his hands are on ball joints, allowing you to go up, down, and side to side if you rotate the peg. And now for potentially the figure's biggest weakness, which everyone has complained about throughout all of SH.Figuarts Jujutsu Kaisen toy line. The waist and ab articulation is unfortunately very lacking. They are on ball joints, which of course can allow you to rotate them to your heart's content. However, it has a very, very limited crunch. Well, it's not too bad, I suppose, but the arcing back does accidentally create some sculpt breakage, which can be less than fortunate if you are doing certain posing or even animation. His hips are on ball joints, allowing him to kick up that far and back not at all. Double hinge at the knees, and his feet are of course on ball joints, allowing them to go up this far, down that far, pivot, and there is a toe joint, which you just accidentally saw me set off a second ago. Just ignore that. So overall, articulation on this guy is actually pretty solid. I can completely understand the complaints about the ab crunch and the waist joint being a bit limiting, especially that arcing back that creates that major sculpt breakage in my opinion, which is a big downside. However, I think you kind of get what you pay for. Of course, on the topic of paying for, he is available at retail price in the big bad toy stores, so don't, yeah. So with that all out of the way, let's move on to the size comparison. Here he is next to the 4-inch Jack specific Knuckles, my previous review, the SH.Figuarts Godzilla 1954, the Marvel Legends Infinity War Iron Man Mark 45, the Voyager class Optimus Primal from Transformers War vs. Cybertron Kingdom, and the SH.Figuarts Nozomi Tojo from Love Live. But how does this one compare to the other figure that released alongside him, that being the SH.Figuarts Suguru Geto? Looks fantastic. This version of Geto here was before he had a ginormous hole in his body and also one in his head, but more specifically this was the best friend of Satoru Gojo during their high school days. And you see, because of very unfortunate circumstances that happened in the anime, go watch it, it caused them to drift apart in dramatically different ways, and unfortunately some stuff went down and they are no longer friends. However, that does not change the fact that the painting and sculpt work on this figure looks amazing. Of course, design-wise, Gojo and Geto share a lot of similarities, even down to the button on their chest there. However, if we just pan the camera down a little bit, yes, Geto here is supporting some very, very nifty, puffy, baggy, whatever you want to call them kind of pants here, along with his sandals. And just like Gojo, despite his hair being a lot more simple, the hair is sculpted very nicely alongside his face sculpt, and of course, those tiny little earrings that are, of course, on his ears. And accessory-wise, Geto, just like Gojo, comes with a lot to choose from. He's got a neutral face, a slightly angry face, a laughing face, another more extreme laughing face, and just like Gojo, he also has a shocked face for reasons that I once again will not explain. Go watch the anime. Unlike Gojo, we don't get any type of eyewear or even outwear accessory, but we do get a pair of fists, a pair of chopping hands, one waving hand, a cell phone holding hand, one checking my nails hand, or what is it, an action hand maybe? I'm not quite sure. And of course, two pocket holding hands. So accessory wise, Geto here has just as much, if not more, potential for some amazing poses, especially alongside Gojo. And since I said the magic P word quite a few times now, let's move right on to the posability. A lot of this guy's posability is the exact same as Gojo's, however, he does have a ball joint at the head and the neck, allowing him to look up that far, down that far, and of course side to side. His shoulders can extend, allowing his arms to come up about that far and that high, and back that far. Kinda tight, but honestly, this barely counts as a joint in the first place. His actual arms are on ball joints here, allowing them to go up this far, full 360, and of course can swivel. His elbows are on a double hinge joint, and his hands are on ball joints, allowing you to move them up and down and side to side. And before we move on to the rest of the articulation on this figure, I would also like to point out the shoulder extending joint is less distracting than it was on Gojo, which is a plus. However, moving back on to the articulation, he has a sort of limited ball joint at the chest, which allows him to crunch forward this far, and with the ball joint here at the waist, he can crunch forward a little bit farther. However, it is noticeably much worse than Gojo's was. And just like Gojo, if you arc him back, there is, once again, some sculpt breakage. However, it's not as severe as Gojo, so once again, it is a plus. His hips are on ball joints, allowing him to kick up that far and back not at all. Of course, his knees are on a pretty tight double hinge joint. And his feet, just like Gojo, are on ball joints, allowing them to go up this far, down that far, slightly pivot, and there is also a toe joint. Well, as you could see in there, the articulation had to have been sacrificed to keep a clean sculpt, which, to me personally, I will take more articulation over the clean sculpt any day of the week. Overall though, not bad. So, Suguru Geto over here overall has a very, very nice look to him. Not so much a very nice feel, unfortunately, as again, the articulation is limited in some areas. However, I would still say this figure is pretty cool. So, with all that out of the way, let's move right on to the size comparison. Here he is next to the 4-inch Jack-specific Knuckles, my previous reviews, the SH.Figuarts Satoru Gojo, and the SH Monster Arts Godzilla 1954, Marvel Legends Infinity War Mark 45 Iron Man, Voyager Class Optimus Primal from Transformers Warrior Cybertron Kingdom, and the SH.Figuarts Nozomi Tojo from Love Live. So, overall, these figures are amazing, and are definitely must-buys for any fan of the series. However, just please try to avoid those scalpers prices, as I just know. With that all being said, they're still less expensive than the regular adult version themselves, which is ridiculous. Come on. Also, seeing these two together really makes me wish that Bandai had made a SH.Figuarts Toji figure. If you know, you know. What, are you expecting a trailer or something? You'd be exactly right.